Good evening, Fräulein.
Ron Lacey had a huge history of playing different character parts all over England, but when I first met him, he reminded me of Peter Lorre.
Bar's closed.
We are not thirsty.
Ronnie was one of the nicest of men. He'd been a good working actor for most of his life and had just not got anywhere. He'd actually decided to give up acting, and he became an agent. And I think it was in about 3 or 4 months of, trying to represent his fellow actors when he got cast in Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, of course, got him started again as an actor.
It was kind of scary because Kit West had to set fires close to the crew, but also he had, the big machine that turns the fires off, and all the wood was treated so it couldn't really catch and spread. But, it got really hot on that set. We had everything on fire, the curtains, the window frames, the ceiling was on fire. At one point, the entire bar burns up.
Right from the time that the set was designed, we had to have certain sections which we knew that we would be able to add special pipes in and concrete floor, because that studio had a big blaze on one of the previous pictures, and they were naturally, knowing our intentions of having a fairly hefty fire in there, they were very, very anxious. And so we had to go right from scratch and make sure that the materials were pre-soaked in special fire retarding solution.
Going together? Kid is safety first, and that's why I usually hire a physical effects supervisor who really puts safety before anything else.
Will Jones, at least you haven't forgotten how to show a lady a good time.
The first question I asked, actually, before I even read the script, when it said it's in Egypt, I said, do we see the Sphinx, the pyramids, or any of that? I said, no, just the streets. I said, then we don't have to go to Egypt. Tunisia is a much easier place to shoot, and we'd been there before, so I knew the country. We found the site for the Tanis digs. This was right in the area where we shot Star Wars. The canyon where Indy is above them and they've got the Ark going down, it's the same canyon where R2-D2 is taken by the Joblo in Star Wars. It's exactly the same location. And then we went to shoot Cairo. We went to a town called Kairouan, which actually means Little Cairo, so it was quite apt, and that's where we shot all the stuff in the streets.
If I could just do the whip fight and the sword fight and everything in here. The orange gag, the butcher's thing, and then the basket comes through here.
Another challenge that we had was, of course, shooting the period for the 1930s. And once we got to these locations, once again, we didn't have computers that could erase wires and TV antennas and everything. We had to do it ourselves.
This is another good angle right over here. We probably removed 200 or 300 aerials, especially from the wide panoramic shot that brings Sala and Marion and Indy out onto the veranda. But in a way, I kind of like that a lot of effort went into creating an authenticity that couldn't have been phonied up 23 years ago.
Cairo, city of the living, a paradise on earth.
The first person I offered Sala to was Danny DeVito, and he was dying to play this character, but he had problems with his television series not being able to make the dates work, and eventually couldn't do it. But he was my first choice to play Sala. And then when I saw Shogun, I said, I don't know who this British actor is. He's like Falstaff, great basso profundo voice and tremendous sense of humor. And I said, that's Sala. We got to get him in the picture.
Well, you see, if they call him, if I make it sound differently.
Yeah, make it sound differently, yeah.
But if I do, then I can't have heard it. I went to the store, Stephen, and I said, well, here's the thing. Sala is described as a 5'2", skinny Egyptian digger. What do you propose, surgery? And he said, no, just, I want to cross between the character you played in Shogun and Falstaff. I thought, oh, that's interesting.
How about just saying, today you rest, you shop, you let Marion spend all your money.
Those scenes were fun. I enjoyed doing those, all the running around in the marketplace and stuff. Any moment where I could join and be useful and resourceful had meaning for me.
Action, Karen. Real tough, real tough.
All of that stuff became a part of the character, and I was really happy to have it, as opposed to just being somebody running you know, like scared, you know, to have like, you know, a frying pan in my hand that I could then conk the guy in the head with and stuff.
So leave the door open, right, open now, but hide around the corner, please, yeah? Okay.
There was so much stress shooting in Tunisia that we just wanted to go home. I mean, you know, I had 6 weeks scheduled in Tunisia. I did it in about 4.5 weeks because it was super hot, hard to breathe. You couldn't take a deep breath.
We should have guys up here.
Plus, we all began getting sick. I didn't get sick because I subsisted on canned food from the UK that I just literally opened my cans and sometimes cold had my breakfast, lunch, and dinner from canned food. But all the rest of the crew who ate at the restaurants or at the hotels, they all got sick.
I have never been so ill on a film set. I think I actually had cholera. I had a temperature of 105 point something. I was dying. There's a scene that was actually cut from the original film where a young soldier is ordered to shoot me. Stephen said to me, John, can you bend down to give him a better eye line? And as I bent down, I filled my jalaba in front of 200 people. And I didn't care.
Thank you, mon père. Mon grand-père.
I want you to work on the diction now.
Monsieur Agé.
There would be times on the set where I would use the second camera, and I would be on the second camera, and I'd be either shooting things that Steve had told me, or I'd say, hey, here's a great shot, why don't I try this? And he'd say, yeah, great, do that. And we sort of were trading off operations, and you know, he let me shoot second camera. I think he was doing it just to be nice to me.
If you're trying to escape on foot, the desert is 3 weeks in every direction. So please eat something.
That's one of my favorite sequences, and it was born out of a problem, and that was there was no reason for my character to put on that dress.
It's beautiful. I would very much like to see you in it.
So Stephen challenged me to find something. You know, it was sort of like, okay, well, you come up with a good reason why she would put on that dress, and you show it to me, and, you know, we'll see. So it was not difficult at all to enlist Paul, and we went into the tent and just did little improvisations together. And out of that improvisation came this thought that what if there was a sharp knife that was there on that plate, and what if from the moment I put on the dress you see that I'm using my clothes to hide the fact that I'm going to take the knife, and that we created a little story around that. And we also thought it was kind of beautiful to bring maybe the drinking contest back into the story, and that I think I'm going to drink him under the table to be able to escape. And as we're improvising, I just thought, this is it. You know, we found it. This is just so lovely. You know, it has so many wonderful little twists and turns.
We meet again, Fräulein. You Americans, you're all the same. Always overdressing for the wrong occasions.
You remember this coat hanger sequence, the famous thing where Ronnie Lacey looks as though he's producing this instrument of torture. And Ronnie's such a wonderful actor too, his timing is superb. The audience actually do go, what's he going to do? And then he turns it into this coat hanger.
You see, the scary thing is once it gets long, that's the threat. But then suddenly get to the end, you can look at it just for a moment, to get to the end, and put it together and just instant coat hanger.
It's such a brilliant gag. And it turned out that it was a gag that Stephen had been working up, that he'd used it in 1941 before with Christopher Lee, I think, in The Submarine, playing it. And for some reason or other, it didn't work, and Stephen knew it didn't work, and he was so fond of this gag. It's a nice idea, isn't it, that you keep reworking the gag till you get it right, like Buster Keaton would, you know.
What shall we talk about?
Good.